Welcome back to The Grind. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Howard the Duck buff in a brief look and talk about some of my initial impressions and why I am excited about ranking up Howard the Duck. You have this option to apply the auto masher, but we're going to review how it's not as effective that way. So you can see at the start of the fight in here, we're actually in the Cavalier Event Quest, we don't have auto masher on, and I didn't tap at the beginning of the fight, so I only have one armor up buff. But Howard the Duck has so much utility potential now. He has armor ups, he can get multiple furies, he can stack multiple armor breaks, he can heal block, he can do power suppression, and so in the Cavalier Event Quest he's going to be amazing. But see here, at the start of the fight I tapped, which is mashing, on the screen, on the left side of the screen, and I got up to 8 armor up buffs. Every time you parry, you'll get a fury, and every time you heavy attack, you'll get an armor up, or sorry, an armor break. But if you button mash on the left side of the screen, tapping as many times as you can stack multiple furies during a parry, or multiple armor breaks during a heavy attack. And then if you parry and then heavy attack and then button mash both at the same time, you'll get the furies and the armor breaks from the same button mashing. And because of the easy access to armor breaks, it will be a great option for the Cavalier Event Quest nodes that we had this month, because you completely block out healing and can stack up those furies very nicely with access to the armor breaks on the heavy, or even the special one where you get the heal blocks as well. And another great thing is all the buffs and debuffs fall off one at a time, so you don't have to worry about them all dropping at the same time, and you can extend the duration by applying more of the debuffs or the buffs on Howard the Duck. Now, this is an example of how easily you can stack furies just by either throwing the special one or just doing multiple heavy attacks back to back. And then we're going to take a look at Labyrinth of Legends and just do some brief walkthrough of how I find his rotation to be most effective. You can decide to put on the pre-fight ability, which is the auto mashing. That way you do not have to worry about tapping the left side of the screen between every certain effect, like the heavy attacks, the stun durations, and the start of the fight, as well as during the special attacks, but it isn't as effective. You only get about 60 to maybe 70% of the buffs or debuffs with the auto mashing ability, and during the fight you can't turn it off and you can't just decide to manually mash, but you can do the auto mash at the start of every single fight in a quest. There is no limit to how many times you can do it, so if you want to be a little bit more lazy, just have a little bit of an easier fight, or there's a lot going on that you need to focus on during the fight while you're getting used to playing Howard the Duck, you can just throw on the auto mash. But you are going to ramp up faster and get more benefit out of Howard the Duck if you do it manually and just get used to tapping the left side of the screen while you're throwing a special one, while you're throwing a special two, during the stuns, while you're doing like a stun heavy. And keep in mind that the furies are gained during a stun effect, and so you want to start off by doing lots of parries, as well as maybe throwing your special 3 at the start to get that longer stun duration so you can get more furies. Now here's an example of putting on auto masher, activating that pre-fight ability, and then you go into the quest and you'll see that the armor break, or sorry, the armor ups will stack up by themselves, but you only get to about 5. So instead of the 8 that I was able to get, we ended up with 5. And the first parry gave us 4 furies. The first heavy attack gave us 3 armor breaks. So we're not getting as many buffs or debuffs as we do when we just manually mash, but you don't have to worry about mashing in on the left side of the screen during all of these effects throughout the entire fight. You just continue throwing the abilities, fighting as you typically would, and you do ramp up. It just occurs a little bit more slowly, and having less armor ups at the start of the fight means you're taking more chip damage, more block damage from anytime you have to block a heavy attack. Now, to counter that, we're going to go in without the auto mashing on, just manually do it. We forgot to do the auto mashing at the start of the fight because I'm still not used to this champion yet, so we only have the 1 armor up. But you can see when we go in and we parry and do the auto mashing on our own, we're going to be able to get more stacks. And in here I'm just showing again, you parry once without auto masher, it just gives you 1. And then if you get another parry or a heavy attack, you're going to get more stacks. So see, we stacked 5 additional ones on that first parry, and then you can weave in the parry heavy attacks at the same time. So then you can stack up furies and armor breaks at the same time. So here I just didn't do the mashing and threw it once to show again you get 1. Then we stacked 5 additional ones by doing the mashing during the heavy attack. And if you stun, parry stun, and then heavy, and then mash the side of the screen, then you'll stack up furies and armor breaks. I tried to do a combo there, but it didn't quite work out, a counter, sorry. But see, you get him in the corner and you can actually spam heavy attacks as well, which is nice. You can build up those armor breaks quickly and then focus more on the Furies. Now, what I recommend at the start is go up to your special 3 first, because you do get a nice stun on the end of that. And if you do land the perfect bonus in that little mini game and stop that timer at the right spot, you'll get a longer stun and it will be passive, which is quite nice. But during this stage, you can throw in a couple heavy attacks. You can just mash the screen to stack up those Furies, and that way you can ramp up your damage. Now, you do not need to actually attack at all to ramp up the Furies. You can just parry, tap the side of the screen, and then back off, parry again, tap the side of the screen. Or what you can do is like I have been doing, is parry heavy and then tap the screen. Or you can do parry medium, light, medium, and then parry again, and just continue to ramp up those Furies at the start of the fight. Now, even with this, we're kind of just getting halfway to our max Fury ramp up at 87 hits. That is inflated because his special attacks and heavy attacks have a lot of hits on it. But we're not even to the damage ramp up yet. And we're going to see this fight, I actually take him down. This is a rank 2 5-star. And we end up taking him down in about 270 something hits, and the 100 of those hits is just getting us to ramp up. And this is one of the first times that I was fighting with Howard the Duck, so I am ramping him up quite a bit slower. You can ramp him up much quicker if you're just focusing on parry heavy, tap, 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 parry heavy, tap, 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 and just building up that way. I was kind of doing a little bit of different things thrown in there just to showcase some of his different abilities and how he works. Something to keep in mind is I do have Suicide Masteries on, which is nice for Howard the Duck because he doesn't take any bleed. He's immune to bleed now, so you don't have to worry about that. And the problem though is the recoil, but since he doesn't really rely on his special attacks, you don't have to throw them. You can just continue throwing special 3s. And in this clip, I was trying to ramp up fast as I can, and I'm still not great with Howard the Duck. Obviously, I just started trying to learn him, but it was less than a minute. I know it's kind of a long time, about 50 seconds, but we got there with about 50 hits. And remember that he has a lot of hits on those heavy attacks, so it's really not that many heavy attacks to get up there. And once you get up there, the damage starts to get quite nice. Remember, this is a rank 2 5-star, and when we throw off that special 3, it's actually kind of impressive. And I think Seaton's rank 4 did over 50,000 damage with the special 3 when it was ramped up, which is some quite nice damage for a finishing as well, especially because the special 1 and 2, they aren't really that impressive. But look here, we're fully ramped up now at 50 hits, and then we go into the special 3. But you know, he doesn't rely on the special 1 and special 2. The damage from them isn't that great, and the effects from them aren't necessarily required, so you might as well just throw the special 3s, especially with Suicide Masteries. Because of that stun, you can just go right in. We're doing 5k mediums, over 5k mediums with a rank 2 5-star, and that last hit did a 7k crit. And then this is just going to show the special 2. The first hit, I believe, gives us a crit, so we get some decent damage on it, 7k, but in all the other hits don't crit, so it's only 1800 each. And then we're just going to go up to a special 1 and show that as well. We did get lucky with crits on this special 1, so the damage was much nicer. I believe it was about 15,000 total, so we get, let's see, we're applying the armor breaks again. We're going to punish after the special 1. We throw it, we get a 4.5 and then a 10.5k crit. So that was some pretty decent damage for a 5-star rank 2 champion. So for me, I'm actually quite excited to rank up Howard the Duck now. Probably going to be one of my next rank ups, even if it's just to rank 4 for the Cavalier difficulty, because he works for both of them now, both the Cavalier nodes that we've had. But also, it's always nice to have another Havoc counter, someone for Distract or Buffed Up. There's a lot of utility that Howard the Duck has, even if he's not the hardest hitting champion, as long as you're able to parry or counter with heavy attacks. But ideally, you want to be able to parry. So anything with like Limber or Stun Immune or Debuff Immune is really going to be a challenge for Howard the Duck, and you're not going to want to use him in those scenarios. But for the fights that he works, I think he'll be a very solid and reliable champion. So I'm looking forward to using him. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I hope to see you in the next video.